Streaming only on Peacock, a new original comedy.
Me in a punk band?
We Are Lady Parts.
A confused mix of hash anthems and sour girl power.
You puked all over the front row. Ew.
We Are Lady Parts. All episodes streaming now, only on Peacock.
Have you been to Express lately? People can't get enough of their clothes. They're like instant confidence boosters. The jeans come in a temp control fabric that keeps you comfortable no matter the weather. And the t-shirts, hands down, they'll feel like they're made of the softest fabric you've ever worn. And get this, the suits have stretch and look sharp. Like, what? How do they do that? Everyone's raving about the newest looks from Express. Just check out the 5-star reviews. See for yourself and shop the latest at express.com and in stores.
All right, 5 o'clock hour of the drive on a Thursday afternoon starts right now. Stay tuned, Pick 6 previews. Brett Ciancia is going to stop by to talk Pac-12 football, some Utah football, some BYU too. Potential conference realignment in college football. But before we get to that, a pleasant surprise on a Thursday afternoon. We are recording a podcast a little bit later on with Amy Donaldson, but Chris Camerani rode his gearless bike to be here early for his 5 o'clock hit. CK, how are you, man?
I'm hot. How are you?
I'm good. So just to be clear, I didn't give you the CK nickname. We've been over this.
Yeah.
Is this Pops or Falk? Who are you giving credit for?
No, I think going back to like the Calvin Klein era, I think the family like made that very easy connection.
Like Back to the Future.
Yeah,
style.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. How you doing, man? You good?
Yeah, I'm great. Yeah, no, I just have to remind myself that this isn't the podcast. So
yes.
I need to.
You know, it's on me.
No, it's on you for sure.
It's on me as the host, so I'll do my best. Yes, and Porter is standing by to make sure that we don't curse on
I
air.
promise I'll behave.
Real quick, when you were here in February, you were really bummed out about how cold it is, and now it's January. What are your favorite months? Or excuse me, now it's July and it's too hot. What are your favorite weather months in our state?
Fall.
Right.
Yeah, I think September, October, even the first bit of November. Spring is too much of a tease in that we get that April snowstorm, but the two most enjoyable seasons in the state are the shortest, as you know, and it's pretty maddening because like they're the most enjoyable by a country mile.
Yeah.
Not even close.
I mean, the dirty little secret is we probably have like 3 months of good weather,
Yes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, maybe even if that. Anyway, it is warm outside. All right, so there's a few things that I want to do here. Again, it's not a podcast. We'll keep reminding ourselves of that. But can you even wrap your mind around another fall full of COVID protocols in college football and the NFL? I mean, maybe we shouldn't be surprised that we're here, but, you know, the SEC came out a couple of days ago, and they're threatening forfeitures. NFL today, in what I thought was very surprising, is threatening the teams, like if your players aren't vaccinated, you will forfeit the game, and then both teams miss their game checks. Give me your thoughts on this.
Well, starting off from the science perspective, I'm not that surprised because unvaccinated people are getting COVID just like they have for the last year and a half.
Right.
None of that has changed. And we're seeing another spike not only in our state but nationwide and worldwide. I think owners, commissioners, league officials, they know that they can't lose money the way they lost money last year. I mean, going down to canceled games, shortened schedules from a college football perspective, that's not going to fly. A lot of athletic departments had to lay off a lot of people last year. They had to trim a lot of budget because of everything that went down last year. I think the most surprising thing to me is the fact that so far the SEC seems to be doing pretty well from a vaccination perspective, at least from their football programs. I mean, the fact that Saban says they're already at 90%, and there's the quote is like, I think Michael Irvin said like if you don't get vaccinated, you don't want to win, and I understand that there's some hyperbole there, and it's easy to make fun of somebody like Michael Irvin saying something like that, but in essence, it kind of makes sense. It's like if you are going to put yourself ahead of 80 other people on your roster, 20 coaches, supporting staff, fans, everybody, you're kind of putting yourself in the line of fire. And it, like as you mentioned, the fact that it can derail not only your own team but the opposing team in the NFL. I mean, I'm not surprised because there had to be a hard line drawn, and they're approaching that right now.
Where do you think the messaging started that is co-opted the thoughts of smart folk who, well, co-opted the thoughts of people that should know better, who when I ask, have you been vaccinated, they say, I'm not comfortable asking nor answering. That's a violation of my rights. I mean, look, I know the Fox News propaganda machine is sky high. I've said it before. I'll say it again. There's a special corner in hell for Rupert Murdoch. There's no doubt. But how did that become a thing? It's so foreign to me.
Well, this is a podcast question.
And that's a tease. If you want to save it for later, we can do that.
I mean, I think it's rhetoric that's been analyzed wrong. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people don't really understand the rhetoric that they're being fed. And I think there's kind of the evil brilliance of that is that things are being twisted to convince folks of one thing when they shouldn't be even entertaining that potential idea. And I do find it very interesting that in the last month, not even nationally, I mean, my old man called and was like, did you see Hannity saying that, please get vaccinated? Quite a turn for him. But like locally, I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of folks that were pretty quiet the last year are suddenly being a little more outspoken, whether it's on social media or in their own whatever spaces, because maybe they have, everybody has their own self-serving agenda, but like the reality is from a financial perspective, we can't survive as a collective if we have to go into another lockdown, another shutdown. I don't think we're there just because I think we're close to like 50% fully vaccinated as a state, if I'm not mistaken. So it's just a podcast question. I'm trying to think of like a way to not roll on. But the reality is the people that need to listen to different people, basically.
Yeah, that's well said. Is that a Ted Lasso shirt, by the way?
It is a Ted Lasso shirt.
That's very nice. Season 2, is it next week?
Tomorrow.
It's tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Can you help us get the dude that you talked to for your piece on the show?
Coach Beard?
Yes.
I could try. I mean, he's like flooded. It's very fascinating, like based on the story last year where it was very easy to get a hold of folks and they would make any amount of time available versus now, which I'm trying to work with some colleagues at The Athletic on some pieces, and it is like pulling teeth. And I understand. I'm not taking it personally.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I can't think of a show in recent memory that's blown up the way this show has from a perspective of popularity and just overall reachability. It seems to really have transcended really different audiences across the board. So that's a long-winded way of me saying I can text him and see.
Yeah. No, it would be cool.
Yeah.
He's a great character too, by the way. I'm just teeing you up here.
Yeah.
Why do you think the show has had such an appeal? Why do you think the show? Because it first came out and you're like, check it out. You wrote your thing. I watched it. And
you binged it, right?
I
fast.
binged it right quick, and my wife wasn't really into it at that point, but enough of her friends were like, check it out. So recently we watched it again.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just so delightful during a time where there's not a lot of happy things. But why do you think it's caught fire so much?
I think that was probably the biggest proponent that it had going for it last year, unfortunately, was the fact that it was such a terrible year and we were hoping to glom onto anything that could be anything remotely positive or upbeat. But I had my own, reservations. I think you did. I think a lot of people thought like this could end up being kind of I almost said it, kind of a clown show, so to speak, because what the character was originally predicated on was a clown, so to speak.
Yeah.
But they managed to shift the narrative, and they just hired a bunch of really good people. I mean, the fact that it has a record number of Emmy nominations is impressive. I think every major cast member on the show has been nominated for an Emmy, which goes to show, like, granted, it was kind of a down year from an entertainment perspective, but they just did such a good job of convincing us that we can, like, feel again. And I think in a year where we were numb to so many things, it hit for so many people. So far, the reviews of season 2 are pretty good. I think it would be kind of weirdly, I think it would be hard to mess that show up because they've said that it's only going to be 3 seasons. So you kind of
they've announced that.
Yeah, they said that last year. So they kind of know what track they want to stay on. But Yeah, episode 1 drops tomorrow, and I think they're going to do it like serial style, so I don't think it's going to be all at once. So
That's a bummer.
They're going to make us wait.
Wait,
I'm guessing, because I'm pretty sure last year they did too.
We've been spoiled
Oh, for sure.
that way. Oh, man, that's a bummer because I was hoping.
I like it though.
Oh, do you?
I like it.
You like the old school anticipation?
Yes.
You got to wait.
Yes, like it makes me like get stoked about like making a meal, getting a drink, sitting down, focusing, trying to put the phone away, that kind of thing.
Is there anything you like to watch live outside of like live sports?
Like music, or like what would you say? What do we watch?
No,
live
let me rephrase that. Is there anything that you like? For me, I DVR everything.
Sure. Oh, I do too.
And so I skip through commercials.
Yeah.
Is there anything you don't do that with outside of games?
Some shows, depending on what the platform is. I mean, luckily, if you're watching HBO Max, you're fine. If you're watching Amazon Prime, you're fine. Maybe like a show that I really like Dave on FX. I've told you to watch.
Yep.
Like if we are home and it's on, I'll probably watch that with commercials. But otherwise, I'm very much the DVR mind.
Yeah, that's how I roll as well. And even sometimes, unless it's like a Jazz game or a big playoff game, I'll DVR NBA games and start winning.
See, I can't do that. Sports is number one. If I'm not watching live, I have to watch highlights. Otherwise,
So no matter what.
no
Interesting.
matter
Okay.
what. Never once in my life.
Let's do a little Olympic stuff. I do want to
Yeah.
get some RSL stuff and some soccer stuff with you as well. I mean, the more and more we learn about what's really going on in Tokyo, and the more like it's being called the COVID games.
Mm-hmm.
As a guy that's covered Olympics, been there live, experienced the whole thing, what do you make of the entire situation that we're kind of forcing this to go down and athletes have to come home? Zach Levine didn't make the trip. I know there was a University of Utah gymnast who, and here's the thing that really tugs at you. Gymnasts, it's not like an NBA player. Like they work their entire life for 5 minutes of glory, if that, and it's being snatched from them. What do you make of what we're seeing in Tokyo?
The
so far?
particularly heartbreaking thing about Kara Eker, who you're referencing, she's a future Ute, and she was an alternate. So her time isn't necessarily gone, but her infection is particularly brutal because she was fully vaccinated. And it's just further proof that as long as we're allowing these variants to roam freely around our, local municipalities, nationwide, whatever, vaccinated people can still get sick. And maybe she didn't even have symptoms, but the fact that she tested positive ruined her chance at maybe being an Olympian on obviously a gold medal favorite squad. This will be a reminder of what last year was, point blank. I mean, already watching like some of the softball highlights, it's very sanitized, no pun intended. Like there's no vibe, there's no atmosphere. Some media friends that are there say it's like very, very strict and stringent. You're not allowed to go out and mingle. You go cover games, you come back, you have an allotted amount of time to go out and maybe get some fresh air, but that's it. Like they're taking it very serious because Tokyo cases are skyrocketing at the worst time, because of course they are, because the entire world can't get their stuff together. But I'm fascinated to see how the TV ratings are, because as we saw last year, some people can handle the bubble style sporting event stuff. I think they'll be okay because the fact that there are no attendees, you're just going to have so many people who know these athletes worldwide that want to tune in and watch. But I think it is very sad that this moment that so many folks have been waiting for their whole lives is, in essence, just kind of dumbed down. And the fact that they can't have friends and family there. I mean, I've done a few stories already, a couple that haven't even been posted. Their dads are their coaches. They've been coaches their whole lives. I mean, Carissa Moore, who I wrote about, who's the gold medal favorite in surfing, her dad's been her coach since she was like 10 years old. He can't go. And like, how do athletes adapt to a situation where like you have this person, father or not, who helps you compete, and all of a sudden you're basically on an island, and it's not specific to her or any other Americans. It's specific to every athlete there. Yeah,
Travis Anderson. At some point you should golf. I don't know, or just come to the clubhouse.
I'm gonna ride in the cart.
Well, we meet on the deck afterwards to go over the scorecard and hang out for a little bit. Maybe
you do? Okay.
You could at least come do that.
Absolutely.
So Travis, and for our listeners, he's been the main producer for Jazz broadcast for something like 25 years. He's one of the longest tenured Jazz employees. I think only Ron Boone has a longer tenure. and he's the best. So he's producing all the USA basketball games. And here's just another thing that's a bummer because Tokyo's awesome. I've only been once, and I was a little bit younger. I badly want to go back for like weeks at a time. Trav has to go check into his hotel and chill in his room in quarantine for like 14 days, and then has to prove that he tests negative before he can even go see Tokyo, let alone go to work.
And he's fully vaccinated.
Yes.
Well, I will say that Trav's Olympic life is particularly brutal because he doesn't get to really go anywhere usually because he's stuck at whatever arena. I mean, like when we were in Rio together, I think he said he was at the basketball arena for 20 straight days, and we hung out in the airport on the way home. That was a particularly interesting event because everybody's flying home. So, like, just the most famous people in the world just walking by you, sitting by you.
Did you see anyone?
Oh, so many people.
Really? Interesting.
Tyson Gay, Rudy Gobert, everybody. So many Jazz guys were there, just like chilling, waiting for their flights. But yeah, no, it's not fun. I hope that folks there can stay healthy and nobody else's dreams get dashed. But the odds are, considering how prevalent the virus is, we're going to deal with more of this for the next few weeks because the opening ceremonies are tomorrow. How
dialed in will you be? I've told you this before. I consume the Olympic Games. I'm an unapologetic fan. Are you going to be locked in, or is this diminishing your interest?
I think it depends on what I'm asked to do writing live off of this. I think while I was at the Trib, you're so hyper-focused on getting stuff into the copy desk when you're writing about locals, whereas the Athletic's a little more laxed, and they want you to take a little bit more of a tactical approach to what you're writing about. But I'll be tuned in for sure. Like, I'm kind of the extreme sports guy for the Athletic. So skating, surfing, climbing. I've had a couple stories posted, a couple more that are going to be posted next week. So I'll be keeping my eye on it. I'll be watching basketball. I'll be watching women's soccer. Men's soccer, not that interesting to me. Gymnastics, swimming, track. I don't know. Like, I am kind of a nerd in that, like, not a nerd, but a poser in that the fact that Usain Bolt's not there, it very much diminishes my interest in track and field.
Absolutely. That's understandable. He was an immense draw.
Yeah.
What do you make of our women losing their first? What's the first game? And did I see 40 matches or something?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You should have Meg on to talk about that.
I'd love to, yeah.
Listen, these elite teams know each other so well. Yeah. So it's not that surprising that Sweden, who's always given the U.S. fits, gave them an ass whooping. But, like, 1-0 maybe, but once it ballooned to 3-0, that's a wake-up call, especially for, bar none, the most talented team in the world. And that's got to be the most difficult job. Managing the U.S. women's national team has to be, like, the most difficult job in head coaching job ever, because you literally have, like, if we were to build a depth chart of, like, most talented players 1 to 3 at every position, you probably have 99% of that on your roster.
The discrepancy is that big.
Yeah, for sure. So it's difficult, and you have to manage superstar personalities. You have to find the right tactical approach for different teams. I forget who they play in their next game, but it's going to be interesting to see how they come out and play. More
likely to not win the gold medal. Our women's soccer team or our men's basketball team?
Men's basketball.
Oh, you think they're in trouble?
Yeah.
Okay.
The world is good, man. I don't think they're not going to win, but I think the roster. I guess I can't compare every men's basketball roster to even like 2008, because that 2008 team was insane. But the world is, think about where the world is now compared to 2008 with that team. Yep. Like, it's just, my guy Ricky Rubio was putting it on him. If Spain doesn't have 42-year-old Pau Gasol trying to guard Kevin Durant, maybe it's a different story.
No love for JaVale McGee, who John Paul coined last weekend as Bronze McGee. That's what he's calling him, because he doesn't think they're going to win it. So I thought that was an odd choice, to say the least.
Well, I don't really know who else they could have taken. Like,
there's a laundry list.
John Collins from Atlanta.
Either one of the Lopez's.
Yeah.
You could look at Miles Turner. I've got a list of like 15 names. Yeah. I was surprised, but he's big. He's long. There's no 3 seconds. There's no offensive goaltending.
Pick and roll.
And I don't even know how much he's going to play. He's
Right.
probably going to sit at the end of the bench, not like Kevin Love was playing.
Right.
All right, so as a buddy of mine texted on his way home from Rio Tinto last night, RSL doing RSL things. They take a 2-0 lead, allowed 2 goals in the second half. I was out there for the show, but I had to come back this way for some dinner, so I didn't see it live, but I watched some of the highlights. I mean, I know trying to analyze the club, amidst all of this complicated ownership transition and who is leading the way, who's riding the – I know all the things that are problematic, but it's inexcusable. They're leaving way too many points on the table at home.
Yeah, so the old school blueprint to make the playoffs in MLS, when I was first year on the beat, Garth Lagerwey had me in his office, and he said, you have to win your games at home and try to get points on the road. And if you can do that, you'll be in the mix come October. I think we have to start having the conversation that RSL isn't good as we thought they might be. And I don't think that has anything to do with roster construction. I don't think that has anything to do with ownership group, because Elliott and Tony have signed 2 TAM-level players. I don't think that's different if Deloy is still the owner. I think they still make those moves. I don't think they're that hamstrung as we might have thought they would be.
Okay.
They went out and spent $1 million on this Johnny Menendez guy from Argentina. They signed a Croatian center back, so they're active. I think the reality is the roster just isn't good enough, especially in MLS. You're seeing. I think I told you this at the end of last year. Like, if you put RSL's roster up against anyone else's, like, which players would you take? And I think there are only 2 guys, and one of them is a tweener, even though he's a great player. Damir Kreilach is one, and then Aaron Herrera is 2. Maybe Ochoa's on that list now.
Rusnak, not Albert?
No.
Oh, wow. Okay.
No, I mean, the statistically, his effect on the team has dropped off so precipitously that I wonder going forward, like, Freddie has some real questions to be asked, because you can't bring on Bobby Wood in the 87th minute of a game where you've just given up the equalizer 9 minutes before. That is your marquee offseason acquisition, and I know people love Rubio Rubin for his kind of Cinderella story, but the guy hasn't scored in 8 matches. So you have to figure out a way to not only stimulate the game, but also your fan base. I understand that Johnny Menendez got off a plane last week, but you spent over $1 million on this guy. I think you have to figure out a way to see what he's got. Like Dunny said it last night on the broadcast. If the guy's dressed, if he's ready to play, if he's in the 18, if he can't play 10 minutes, then he shouldn't have been in the 18. Like, you have to be able to change the game. And I don't know if RSL has that many game-changing, talented players, maybe individually, but collectively they don't have what it takes right now. And I don't know, the fact that the start of the season had so many home games to their advantage, and that they've kicked the can so far down the road, I think it's going to be tough for them, because now they're going to get into the road matches. Now we're going to get those 3 games in 9 days rotation. And, I don't think it's very pretty at Rio Tinto Stadium right now.
So you think it's a talent issue, not a coaching issue or a front office issue? You think it's a talent issue?
I think it's a talent issue. I think RSL, it's really odd. So I think we have to look at the way they play. They kind of seem very scattered more often than not, and I think that's been this way for a long time. They have some talented midfielders, but they never really control the game. I think Pablo Ruiz has a high upside, but the fact that your highest paid player scored his first goal in the run of play in late July last night goes to show, kind of where RSL is as a whole. It's difficult, because I think we've talked about this before on the show too. I think it's hard to play Damir Kreilach and Albert Rusnak together, because I think they kind of cancel each other out, because stylistically they're not fast players. They both like to be on the ball. They're both pretty influential, but the reality is RSL has to figure, and Freddie and his staff have to figure out their best 11, because right now I don't think they have any clue. And I think part of it is talent, but I think part of it is style, fit, approach, tactics, understanding how to defend. Like, Ramondo tweeted last night, he's like, sometimes you have to be willing to take like a hard yellow card. Sometimes you need to like drop in, like pack the butt. Like once the Galaxy scored that first goal, that goal was coming. And so RSL just didn't seem like they could adjust to anything.
See, I think there's a leadership issue in addition to a talent issue, and I know that's more of like an intangible, right? And that's more of a.
You mean like top down, like what they're missing from what? I think unfortunately they're always going to be measured to the glory days, and I understand that. This is an issue that's been pervasive since Deloy let everybody walk, and people need to understand that Garth wasn't going to stay here forever, Jason wasn't going to stay here forever. Bill wasn't going to stay here forever. That core wasn't going to stay intact forever because we saw what happened at the end of 2014 when they tried to push it. They got railroaded. But the reality is I agree. I think there needs to be some semblance of collective vision because the worst thing for RSL is when the Jazz are really good. I think RSL has to figure out a way to, one, be intriguing to the peripheral fans because I think there was a time when they could do that. I know we talk about the 20,000 people in that stadium are the people who are interested, and I agree. But like there is a world in which you have to figure out a way to be intriguing to your fan base and the community, and RSL is just not there.
Well, and winning always helps, right? And lifting the cup in 2009, and I know people don't want to hear that anymore, and I know it's a different league, and I know the talent level is different now, but that gave us an air of credibility here that we could at least say we brought a championship to Salt Lake City, and I think it piqued the interest of folks. I will say I think you're wrong about Jason and Garth wanting to stay here forever. I think in the right scenario they would have. Jason for sure. Garth may have outgrown this, but Jason's family loved it here. He had built his dream home. I think he left for a situation that was very interesting and made him a lot of money and probably gave him some interesting experience. But in retrospect, I think Jason, in an honest moment, would say that he wished he would have stayed.
Really?
Forever. I do.
I think if City came calling, even if Deloy offered him a contract when he should have, if he didn't mess it up so badly, I think the draw, I think it was too strong. Yeah. But maybe he's more willing to come back, but then we're playing hypotheticals.
Right.
I think the legacy of Deloy Hansen is very murky, to say the least, for several reasons. But I do think there is a world in which you could have been able to bring back some folks who helped build this club. And I know they're starting to trickle back a little bit, and I understand that. But from a pure like style talent perspective, that's all people care about. People don't care about the bells and whistles. They don't care about the free Wi-Fi. They don't care about Chick-fil-A or Corner Bakery Cafe. People just want to be able to go to that stadium or turn on the TV and say like, wow, my team's fun to watch.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm just trying to wrap my mind around whether or not I should, and I'm not going to.
No, do it.
No, not right now. So U.S. Jamaica this weekend. I'm about to blow your mind. Little Gold Cup.
Oh yeah.
U.S. Jamaica this weekend, and then Mexico Honduras. Does the Gold Cup have any appeal to you at all?
No.
Okay. Well, then we don't need to talk about it.
It is interesting though, considering like the favorites Mexico do have way more established names there, and I understand that some of our players are nursing injuries and they had long seasons and whatnot. But I mean, Mexico has guys on that team right now that play in Europe. I mean, they have Ajax guys, they have Porto guys, they have dudes that have been playing year-round too. And this goes back to the larger conversation that we've had, is the fact that we just saw a Euros competition that blew us all away. Copa America is always a blast. We had Argentina, Brazil in the final. Like, you couldn't ask for more. The continental, like, cup side of things here in North America is very, very depressing. And to me, like, World Cup qualifying supersedes that 10 times over.
I do agree with that, and I don't disagree with what you were saying, but to hear you say it is a little bit different than, than if I said it, because I just watched my first Euro start to finish. Mm-hmm. And I'll tune in. Like, if we play Mexico in the final, I'll probably tune in for that.
Yeah.
All right, last thing. Give me your Mount Rushmore of RSL PR staff, historically. Start to finish, Mount Rushmore.
1, Jane Sexton.
Okay.
2, Trey Fitzgerald. 3, Sam Stayskool. 4, Matt Gash.
No Johnny K?
I didn't know Johnny K.
Okay, so I would say.
So, there's an amazing John Coluter story that James Edward tells. If you haven't heard it, that's for off air. But anyways,
Johnny K's my guy. See, my Mount Rushmore would be Gash, Taryn, Coluter, Stayskull. All right.
When you're behind the wheel of a Toyota Tundra TRD Pro, mighty moments are always right around the corner. 1 minute you're driving when you come across a funk music parade with a broken down float. And one tow later, you're leading the parade as honorary Grand Funk Marshal.
Oh, let's give a big yabba dabba doozy to the funky brother who saved the day.
Make the most of each moment with a handsomely rugged Toyota truck like the Tundra TRD Pro. Toyota, let's go places.
Sun, surf, and seduction collide as 4 Americans return to exotic islands, hoping their sexy romances can turn into forever. Love in Paradise, the Caribbean, a 90-day story, streaming now only on Discovery Plus. Start your free trial. Terms apply.